Welcome to the Eurasian live stream. How are things? Let me just see this. Get the overlap. Is that going to run? Hopefully. Yes, that worked. Morning, mate. How's it going? Yeah, that sort of thing. I did actually send them a message, but I don't think they've. One thing that I like about StreamYard is any new is visible. The private, the previous, but with Restream, the downside is that until the stream actually starts, all prior YouTube sort of comments and all that are not shown. So just keep that in mind when I'm using the Restream. That's what happens. So if you ever end up putting a question before, know that it's not going to be answered. I was having a bit of a chat with Richard before. Yes, good to see you here, Dom, as well. And try good to see you as well. Yes, Restream's okay. Look, it's not too bad, Richard. There are worse options. In terms of ease of use, I would have to say StreamYard's the best. In terms of the actual chat window within the actual application, Restream is better in terms of the way it actually progresses. I don't get this like rapid progression. It's just small amounts and I can keep track of it and it doesn't basically lose a lot of my stuff and all that. So it's an hour later, is it? Okay. Have you guys gone into daylight savings now? Yeah, that's another thing that I have to probably check out is all the daylight savings. And I always get caught whenever there's daylight saving changes in parts of the world. I get caught out where the time that I actually post, is always going to be slightly different. The best way to actually do is check Hobart time, Hobart, Tasmania. Anything across the eastern seaboard, like if you put Hobart, Sydney, Melbourne, you'll basically you'll get what the Australian Eastern Standard Time is. I believe they are in sync. There has been occasions in the past when they've been out of sync, which is annoying. But but if you do, what time is it in Hobart? You'll get the Australian Eastern Standard Time. Then you basically just check what time is it now, and then you can work out the hours that you have to wait. Yeah, look, one thing about when you're online and you're dealing with, and you're chatting with people across the world, you're going to always have these sort of little funny issues in that regard. So since I've got nobody else but myself, I decided to have the chat overlay running. And leave it as a neutral sort of background, so it actually is clear. It doesn't sort of distract in any way. So it's a black background. You've got the actual the side panel there. So if you've got it on the TV or something like that, you can actually see it, which makes it much easier for people, or on a larger screen. How's it going, Matt? Yes, he's pretty good, the man. How are you, mate? Ramika, good to see you, mate. Yeah, so what did you guys think of the earlier live stream with Sky? That was quite interesting. The sort of stuff, some of the hilarious stuff that people get up to. God almighty. Sort of a bit shocking. The things that the alternative world gets into. So it was... and the funny thing is they always sort of combine it with some little bits of things that are okay and all that. So, but then they actually embellish it with all their other nonsense, which is pretty much typical, what happens. So it's just one of those things. Good to see you here, Tracy, as well. Angela, is such is life. Feel the crew are here. Actually, after the previous one, I bombed out. I actually went for a nap. Bart sent me an email about something. He was trying to send me a video of the horses that he was actually videotaping. I said to him, look, it's not coming through. I said, if you've got enough on your drive letter, just put it up there. Or why don't you just host it for everyone? I don't know whether it was a private type thing just meant for me. So he may do something. I don't know in that regard. So, but they've moved, him and Pim. He seems pretty happy that they've moved into a more rural area. So it's less hustle and bustle. So, yeah, main thing is, as long as you're happy, that's the key thing in the environment you're around. And it's, he probably doesn't, like me, I sort of, the big smoke isn't really a thing that I enjoy. It's just basically way too stressful, unnatural in some regards. So, sometimes, not all of us can move to rural areas or to smaller cities or towns. It's not a practical thing. It's just the reality. We've got family responsibilities and all sorts of other things. Not always easy. But it was absolutely fun, the morning one. So I sort of enjoyed it. I was a bit tired from last night because I'd gone up to my mate's place. I'd actually done 2 walks, and then I walked all the way up to his place and back. And going there, I stayed late, had a few drinks with him. So he had some expensive wine. I mean, expensive. It was, wealthy. He's an artist, so he gets these sort of things, gifts and stuff like that. So $280 a pop. That was nice. It was a very nice wine, I can actually tell you. So I really enjoyed the reds and the whites, and then basically waltzed back. And by the time I had a chat with somebody in the evening, and then by the time I basically realised what time it was, I looked at it and go, oh shit, it's 1:30 in the morning. So I went straight to bed, woke up, dowsing around trying to sort my bloody self out. It was just horrific in the morning. I didn't even get a chance to basically wash myself or clean myself. I just quickly basically went in and I said, oh, what's the easiest thing to do to look half decent? I did a shave. I just shaved my face and went to the toilet, and that was it. So, but it worked out pretty well with Sky, which is good. She's a very good supporting act. So she kept me on the right track and all that, and sort of, no, I think it was a good sort of light humour. Nothing over the top, nothing really weird and stuff like that. I know that when she tends to be on certain things, she'll let rip a bit. We all do. So I did actually restrict it as content in the morning, just to be on the safe side with YouTube here. They're becoming a bit strange now in the way they actually clamp down on things. So, yes. Oh, mate, one more hour and then Roy will appear. Oops. Move it down. G'day, Melina. UFC event, was it? Missed the earlier live stream. That's okay. You can always watch it tomorrow or later after this, whenever you want. I don't get offended. G'day, mate. Good to see you here. Got a new person from probably Sky's, Hope you enjoyed the earlier. Hope Danella is the right way of actually pronouncing your name. It's always people using different ways. Good to see you here. Where's Blinky? Earlier around, he's gone to sleep. He said he was going to be tired, but yes. Yeah, it's sort of the moment. This is a bit annoying. I'll have to move this across here. Just give me a sec. It's hard to read things because this is a small screen. It really is difficult. Sort of trying to work off two things, which ain't practical. Now I can actually see what I'm reading. Was it the GP clinic for the blood test? And the nurse advised that the biggest killer is not bad food or lack of exercise, but city pollution. Really? God. I mean, if you look at the pollution in China, I mean, you get a lot of respiratory issues, but some of the other ailments are driven. I mean, look, some pollution can actually drive up insulin. That's true, But if your insulin's pretty low, it'll only be so marginal, won't have any effect if you're on a species-appropriate diet. If you're not, then it could be an issue. G'day, Nick. I'm back. I went for our snooze. I did the same thing. Right after my live stream, I had to sort certain things out. Mate of mine contacted me, he wanted a bloody monitor. I had a spare monitor, so I gave it to him. So basically sorted that out. And that was a later thing. And earlier I sort of got to get a few hours. Then Lynn called me because I was supposed to basically go up to the butcher's and with her, and I forgot. So we've organised it through the week, which is okay. But she goes, "Where are you?" And I'm going, "What do you mean?" And I looked at the time and I go, "Oh, shit." I said I slept in. I went for a nap. I was tired. So she wasn't impressed. Oh, full moon tonight, Blinky. Oh, you'll be out partying then, mate. Oh, don't forget to actually expose your bum hole to the moon. There are benefits with that as well. G'day, Crib. Yes, that was sort of an unusual theme that we, because actually Sky actually said, you did it wrong. She goes to me, "Look, I was 80% certain you weren't going to do this, Harry." And I said, "Oh, I'm game if you are, so I'll throw a bob each way." So she was quite surprised, considering sort of my sort of approach on my channel. She wasn't expecting me to say, "Yes, we'll do this." So, well, now and then you got to be adventurous and try something different. Yes. It's nothing like naked earthing yourself to the ground. Very much so. Now, while we're right there, I'm just going to share. Give me a chance. I'm going to share this. There's a new study out. And 16th of March. So basically, I'm going to try and get access to it. I haven't actually got access to it at the moment. This is a new reduced form of nicotinic mononucleotide. So, as an NAD, it's called basically NMNH. So that's the new acronym for this one. And it's a NAD booster. So that's a new one that they've just basically come out, and they've actually seen that this is in mice, let's be quite clear, but it's still mammalian tissue, that it causes a rapid and sustained NAD plus surge in the blood, in the whole blood, with accompanied by increased NAD levels in liver, kidney, muscle, brain, brown adipose tissue. That's interesting, actually. But then again, most brown adipose tissue is uncoupled, so you probably get a bit of more of a thermic effect. Keep you warm in winter. And the heart, very interesting, but not in white adipose tissue. Well, obviously because in terms of mitochondrial sort of stuff, that's to be expected. But there are probably other reasons for it as well. Yeah, but it's quite interesting compared to the traditional NR or NMN that are out there. I mean, I've sort of more popularized the sort of the niacin approach and stuff like that. The way I sort of go in relation to it. So it is really interesting, some of this new stuff that's actually coming out, this reduced form. It seems to be a much more powerful thing, and it's always been hard to find something that actually has similar performance to niacin without the flushing. It's one thing that, once you tell people about the flushing, they go, it's like a turn off immediately. So this could be an option for those people. Obviously, they do say some companies are saying that they can make it more cheaper than the traditional NMN and NR. Time will tell. So we'll have to see what sort of competition comes out into that market. So as an NAD booster, very interesting in that regard. So I will drop that into the chat. So anybody who wants to go away and take a look at it. So I'm going to check it out myself. I still want to do that sort of one having to do with energy production, all that, and the best way, and all about senescent cells and how to balance all that sort of stuff. So we don't get into ourselves. We don't push certain pathways, which could be risky in that regard. So yes, always interesting in that regard. Now, I'll turn that off. Back to this dodgy guy. Yes. Fucking drunk that he is. Roy's a nice person. He'll be on soon. Blinky, don't worry. That dodgy drunk Harry. We'll see him. We'll see him off in about 40 odd minutes. You don't have to worry. Don't get your knickers in a knot as well. I just had to remind him. Blinky. Oh, he's weird. He is the joke. We just haven't told him. Google asked me to confirm my age. I was over 18. Don't watch that live stream. Oh, well. You should consider yourself lucky that YouTube thinks you're younger. What can I say, Dom? Oh, yes. I like the flush. You're a masochist. If I don't get it, I want my money back. Oh, you would love Shell. She's really into that sort of stuff as well. She likes a bit of, pain. Anyway, Blinky's got something on Discord for me. Blinky. That's from the earlier one, isn't it, Blinky? I'm certain it is. Oh, nice one, Blinky. I love it. Uh, you're a class act, mate. You're a class act. Hey, it works. I've been rejuvenated. God almighty. I don't need basically to be trolled. I've got my personal troll, you know. Flush never worked for me. Well, the sun flush worked for me. More humour. Thank you, Blinky. I've got another one for me. Bloody hell. Is that a second one? Where's the next one? Okay. That's that one. Was there two? Was there a double entry here? You retracted the other one. Okay, yeah, because it still comes up on here. I was wondering what the hell's going on. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Found the flushing rather intense sometimes. Yes. Intensity, nothing like it. You know you're alive. Yes, thank you. Click the like. Everyone, click the like. Please click the like. Hi, Harry. Have you got a recommendation to treat high CAC score? I'm going to make a video on that, Chris. But the nux of it is basically you need to basically be on a species-appropriate diet. That's fundamental. You're not going to basically clean up if you do. You have to be really clean. You can't do any cheats. I mean, now that I've cleaned up, I may be able to get away with a couple of cheats here and there, but you basically have to cut out all alcohol, all sugars. You want to be in a ketotic state. And you need to do some fasting in between and all that. So you basically need to allow your body to clear up that. You need to be on high doses of menaquinone 4. And you also basically need the other fat-soluble vitamins in there. You need high doses of taurine because taurine plays a big role in clearing up fibrotic tissue. So it's a multi-prong thing. I will be making a video to sort of provide a good protocol like I did with the cancer one. I just haven't got around doing it, but it is coming. I've got a few things like that protocols to do. Now that I've got also my disclaimer, I can whack the disclaimer on, which is good. And that means I don't have the problem with YouTube here potentially either taking down my channel or banning stuff or stuff like that. So I have to be very careful the way I play these things. But yes, it is coming in that regard to deal with these sort of things. Now, these aren't miracle things. It took me a lot of piss farting around doing a lot of things, up to a decade to get where I am. So don't expect miracles. They don't happen immediately. So you have to be persistent and clean for some time. After a decade now, I can sort of get away with a few indiscretions here and there. But for a long time, I didn't sort of become antisocial with my friends, but I had to restrict some of the things that I did quite a bit because you just can't add assault to injury and hope that, because when you actually have an indiscretion, it can take 3 days to clear out of your system. So you've got all that a rise in insulin, and you've got certain pathways that are activated. You need, to do a reset. Sometimes we do a fast or a dry fast for 24 hours to do a quick reset. But you can't be doing this all the time. People just need to realize that there is no magic bullet. If there was, everybody would take a pill and it would repair themselves. So it's going to be basically a long proposition for a number of years. It's like basically clearing out, and also the other element is the vitamin E component. As you're losing weight, you'll release a lot of free fatty acid, and some of that's going to be poofer from those seed oils, can do damage. So you need to mitigate that with a low dose vitamin E. So there's a lot, and that's why you have to be in a low inflammatory state to deal with all that stuff. So it's, you You have to be much cleaner, much more disciplined and all that. And some people are not prepared to go that far. That's why we see most people in the low-carb, carnivore or keto community that do, primarily the low-carb, that do much less disciplined stuff. It takes them a very long time, and all sometimes they do is slow it down or basically slow the progression or slightly reverse the progression, but not by a lot, is because they still have a number of carbs in their plants. They still have enough number of, things like alcohol and other things that are still going in. There are still things that are actually causing some level of insulin, some level, that means higher insulin, some level of sort of pushing some of these pathways that need to be growth pathways that need to be subdued, and it requires a lot of discipline. I'm not always sure whether most people are capable of that, but if people discipline themselves enough, you can achieve good results. So I got rid of my fibrotic tissue in my heart completely, and that's what the scan showed in November 2019. So it is possible, but it takes time. It's not a quick thing. Anybody thinks that a quick thing, anybody promise you a quick thing, don't listen to them. If it's taken you decades and decades to basically do a lot of damage, it's not going to be reversing overnight. Even when you're dealing with stored PUFA, it takes 4 to 7 years. Now, I used to burn like in 30 minutes if I was out in the sun. Very easy. Now that I've got rid of that stored PUFA out of my skin, I've turned over in the last, decade, I don't have that problem. I can be out for hours. As you know, I've been experimenting. But it's really, you've got to clean things up and you've got to be disciplined, and it's the only way. It's not a quick fix. If it was, it'd be great. But reality is reality and what it is. Anyway, but it is coming. Yes. Better than bleaching. Oh, you guys in the buttholes. Exactly. That is an alternative method for enhancing your vitamin D. I don't know whether 30 seconds will help, but anything's better than nothing. Yeah, I realised that. I noticed because there wasn't the end part of the link, that it was retracted. I wish it would, when they would communicate between each other, the StreamYard does the same thing. It will remain in here even though it's been retracted. So if you think you've retracted something, it doesn't really get retracted. It will appear. And if I don't look at the other part, I may actually put it on screen, something that you don't want to be put on. So you've got to be careful before you type. Ah, yes. Nothing like a billy goat. Yep, well, you need therapy. Go and get yourself some therapy. Blinky has a special program. It's a post-traumatic stress. It's called the post-traumatic. Let me just think about that. The hazard, because like my so one of my friends used to call me a hazard. The hazard post-traumatic stress syndrome protocol. It's great. It apparently works. It's you've got to actually expose something else to the sun. Apparently, that's what I've been told. I can't confirm it. You'll have to ask Blinky. He's an expert in this sort of stuff. Oh, hi, Harry. Would you take Dietary before or after taking the Candida biofilm supplementation if you're trying to get rid of Candida? I'd focus on the Candida first in that regard to try and actually bring it down. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt in that regard. It's just that some people find it distressing. I think that actually it's probably a good strategy, because it does kill off a lot of the pathogenic stuff. But I said it's a combination, doing that, vitamin D and the E and the B vitamins, the B50 vitamin type thing, as a sort of a combination to basically restore. So basically, I would do the sort of like the candida type thing. Remember that fluid stuff that I showed last time, to sort of flush it, get it out. It's a sort of like a high intensity flush, and then sort of, even though you're at the tail end of doing that, throw the Dietary in, and then basically, as you've done I would say with the Dietary about nearly a month, then I would do get in the vitamin, probably less than a month, you could probably handle it even after 2 weeks of Dietary. It should have suppressed sufficiently the pathogenic bacteria for you then to basically be able to do the B vitamins with the vitamin D to sort of help restore the beneficial gut bacteria. So, it's a play it by ear sort of thing. Do not go with the B50s over 3 months, because of the pantothenic acid issue that can cause insomnia. So we've got to be very careful with that. So once you hit the 3 months, keep the vitamin D up to basically, whether from the sun or supplement, to basically keep those little critters in there, the beneficial stuff, going, because they suck up a lot of vitamin D, unfortunately. And that's another reason why our gut microbiome, the beneficial stuff, do get weakened, because they require more vitamin D to be supported. And if they're not, pathogenics do get the foothold. Anyway, moving on. Didn't think it'd work first time. I wasn't sure as well how it would play out, but it was pretty good. I think Blinky, it wasn't too bad for a first try, me and Sky. It sort of had some sort of synergies. We sort of flowed pretty well. I basically teased her a bit as well. She sort of I was hoping she would tease me a bit more, but maybe, she's a bit more shy, I don't know. Or being on my stream, felt a bit less comfortable in teasing me. I was looking forward to it, but, we'll see how next time when we get together. It's probably gonna, never ask him what he's dipping in and out of. Dom, you should know that. That's that is a really loaded question with Blinky. Gosh, the mind boggles. Ice cream is not cheating. You're my kind of woman. But I'm told otherwise. Actually, unless you make your own, I've actually now got that. I've actually got everything now sorted in order to start making my own, and I'm going to be testing later this week to actually make my own ice cream for our our upcoming Easter type thing. So I'll see how it goes. I think I'll probably do a good ice cream. So it'll be a low carb type thing. Yes. Look, I don't know whether everybody else is looking forward to what I'm going to turn up with, but if it doesn't work out that well, it doesn't taste that well, I'll throw it out and go and buy some. A quite lifetime addiction to green tea. I know a few other friends of mine that are addicted to green tea. I also quit coffee, but I've got oxalate dumping. It's not funny. No, it's not. I've been there. Believe me, not funny. Get lemon juice as quick as possible until you can get citric acid. So I would say get citric acid as fast as possible, because you probably need it, because it's probably coming out in every single orifice, and I mean every single orifice of your body, and it's not going to be pleasant. I've gone through oxalate dumping, and I can tell you, nothing pleasant about it, Melina, nothing pleasant. Sometimes actually consuming oxalate, things like coffee or whatever will actually slow the dumping or stop the dumping for a certain amount of time. So sometimes it's an option going back in that regard. I know it's not a perfect answer in that regard. Why isn't this moving? God almighty. I've been having all sorts of funny issues with all sorts of things today. And it also, it's bloody pathetic. I don't know why things have been playing up, but yeah. So probably have you because it can be because of kidney stones. So I'm actually thinking, what can you quickly get access to? You could probably get access to apple cider vinegar. You could probably get access to lemon juice. Do any of the Polish pharmacies, do they sell citric acid, like food grade citric acid? You basically, so I'm thinking aloud now. It could be, the sort of stones together with the oxalate potentially have probably made it worse. I suspect. That's what I suspect. Because the classical thing of, related to kidney stones being dissolved and all that. But I think the oxalates made it worse. How much would you take? Okay. Probably take lemon juice every couple of hours. Take every couple of hours also apple cider vinegar. For the time being, and then try and get some citric acid tomorrow or, today if you're able to, even now if you're able to. I don't know what time things are in Poland, how much time you've got, and all that with the chemists and whether they sell it. I know iHerb sells a food grade citric acid. That's what I've used. That's what Bart's used. I don't know whether he's used the same brand as me, but he's used. No, it's not. It's not fun. Bloody painful, to say the least. So I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. It's bloody oxalates. It's probably one thing that I wish I wasn't in the early days of my keto days. I didn't do so much damn spinach and all that other shit, kale and spinach and crap like that. Yes, so Phoenix, activating the Randall cycle. Phoenix. Who's Phoenix? What is Phoenix? I don't know. More details, please. Oh, isn't it nice? Even StreamYard doesn't do that. I'd get a congratulatory thing from them. It's actually raining outside. Oh, there you go. Wasn't expecting that. He's sort of moving to the Carnivore. He's day 14, 2 weeks. Good effort. Keto diet. I stay so hungry eating that way. I like some potatoes. You're probably not well fat adapted, possibly. If you're feeling sort of hungry and stuff like that. I sort of did really hardcore. I did low carb for a long period of time, for a number of years, and then I did really hardcore keto for 6 months, like the therapeutic thing, like really low, very high fat, and lost a ton of weight. Very catabolic, and didn't feel hungry at all. absolutely not. So if you're in deep ketosis, you just don't. You switch off a lot of foods. So you're probably not fat adapted completely. Probably, something to look into, or get some coaching from. I don't, as you know, I'll answer certain questions, but I don't do extensive coaching. You may need coaching, so see one of, somebody like Pim or somebody like Bart or somebody like Mary or people like that do coaching to help you along. I used to do some free consultations earlier, but I've sort of stopped. I just don't have the time, guys. It's really hard. I've just minimized it to people that have really got intractable issues, really difficult issues, like cancer. They're not too far away from death and stuff like that. That's where my focus is, because most of the other stuff, most people out there can cover most of that. It's generic. And I don't do this for money or full time or anything like that. So my time is valuable to me and my family. Harry, thoughts about B complex, 50 milligrams, vitamin D, 5 milligram vitamin K, taurine, or citrulline, and a carnivore diet to treat SIBO, heal your gut, or would add something else. Thank you. You've probably got a few things there. I remember taurine as well actually can break down histamine, can basically also positively work against some of the pathogens and some of the, sulfur amino acids are very important in that regard for the system. So you've probably got most things there. It's time, to deal with these sort of things, the acidification. If you've got SIBO, you're definitely basically not creating enough stomach acid. You probably need to deal with that. So acidifiers of one sort or another. Sometimes it can be an issue with gallstones. Taurine emulsifies the bile and actually makes it work properly, move through without many issues. It's sort of over time. Now, if you've got bile stones, it'll take a while to dissolve those with taurine, to emulsify them. If you've got sludge, can be a bit more problematic because it can actually streak through the bile ducts all the way through into the pancreas, and it can take a bit longer because of the way it's stickiness through the biles. So that can take a few more years to basically over time with taurine to clear out. That's when you probably need to be up to about 5 milligrams rather than the sort of standard 3 or something like that I'm on currently. So it's horses for courses, so to speak, depending on your circumstances. So, yeah. But I will be making something like a sort of a proper video on a sort of like a digestive reset of some sort. I'm just designing it at the moment, so is coming. Anyway, that's an answer to someone else. Raw milk depends. Some people are lactose intolerant. Depends in that regard. Now, with certain compounds that can be in certain things, lactoferrin can help as well. So that's why raw milk is much better. Exactly. Precisely. Deep breaths. Sorts all the world's ills. Precisely, Nick. Thank you. What are your thoughts on skin problems, the diet? Are they effective of candida or just inflammation? As I said, I'm going to be doing something. Different people react differently. There's a lot of factors that can play in skin issues. Niacin can help clear up skin problems as well. So can retinol. So fat-soluble vitamins are really important. So this can be a number of issues, but some people are more sensitive to lectins, more sensitive to certain plant compounds, more sensitive to sugar than others. There's a lot of drivers. Candida is another nasty little piece of shit that can create a lot of issues as well. So you always have to, I can only talk in generalities. You got to test. So you got to go to a doctor and ask for specific tests to see exactly what biomarkers are being identified. So, I can talk in general, but specifics, that's why I usually say to people, when you've got some specifics with some medical tests, drop me an email and I will answer that when I get a chance. Obviously, it won't be immediately. And please like and subscribe. And there's the email as well. And so you can all, under the about, you can always find that. And don't forget to hit that damn like button, please. Okay, so that's exactly right. They are a choice. As I said, I'm not the food Nazi to tell you what to eat and what not to eat. All I can tell you what a species appropriate diet. I'm not a man without indiscretions myself. So I cheat occasionally and I pay for it occasionally. So in different ways, we all do. So let's be honest about it and not bullshit each other. We know it's not species appropriate. Do we do it? Yep. Anyway, Dr. Savage on Discord disagrees that a muscle meat carnivore diet is deficient. I don't even know what has been discussed on the Discord in regards to muscle meat or organ meats or whatever, stuff like that. Depends. It really depends. Even, if somebody's basically got underlying deficiencies from a vegan or SAD diet or whatever, it's different when somebody's basically lived on a carnivore diet or a species-appropriate diet for multiple generations for a very long time. Their requirements for organ meats isn't as high. And it also depends on your genetics. Not everybody's the same. So you can't make that as a blanket statement. Most people can do quite fine on muscle meat alone, but there will be outliers genetically that can't. And there'll be also others that have got massive deficiencies that need to be sorted out. And so they may need organ meats or high organ meats for a certain period of time. So I don't think you can make that blanket statement in any regard. So it depends on the deficient. But does a meat cover most things? Yeah, pretty much. And most of the amino acids, we've got enough enzymes that can be transcripted to as Swiss Army knives to alter and utilize things in a number of ways. So we can recycle certain minerals as well. Our body can become quite efficient at recycling. So it's when you're not overusing and not overtaxing and not over-inflaming your body, the requirements go slightly down. So muscle meat can cover most of those needs in general. That's in general, not specific. Not everybody's specific circumstances are going to be the same. That is why there would be nobody in the carnivore community, well, not even Bart or anyone else would say that you shouldn't supplement. If you've got a deficiency, you need to sort it out because you've got an underlying deficiency coming into a carnivore diet. Now, if you stay at a carnivore diet long enough, it'll probably resolve, but you will suffer for months upon end until that resolution happens. And you may be running around in circles chasing your tail thinking that it's something else that needs to be medicated or sorted in a certain way. So where just taking some organ meats sorts it out much faster, gets rid of the deficiency. Then your requirements, because remember, thiamine requirements are half. A lot of the requirements for a lot of micronutrients go down. The only thing that goes up in a big way is riboflavin. And we get shitloads and shitloads of it. I mean, you have a big steak, you could probably get 500 to 600% of riboflavin. So it's not a non-issue. But it always does vary. Now, there are variations in terms of choline, in terms of thiamine, in terms of things like niacin as well. There are differences between meats. Things like pork tend to be much higher in some of these things. So, and traditionally humans did consume pork, and so do even chimps do as well. So I and most North Americans consumed shitloads of it. Most longevity populations also consume quite a bit of it. So it's a food that I would not neglect. Now, there can be religious things for other people, and so they may have to look at a different sort of combination. So it's always, a bit like that. What would be the main tips for treating anemia? Thank you. Meat, iron, getting sufficient of the minerals and all that. If you're on a carnivore diet, I'd be shocked if you had anemia unless you had gut malabsorption issues, and that's a different thing due to your past gut, leaky gut and all sorts of other issues. So, eat a species-appropriate diet, basically. Just because somebody comes to me and says, I don't like meat, well, tough luck. You can supplement, but that's not a real good idea. Sometimes with supplementation, especially with iron and stuff like that, it could cause some level of dysregulation. You won't see a person on a carnivore diet that's actually with anemia. So for people to have anemia, and because sometimes I get people that say, I've got a friend that's a vegan. Well, bad luck, tell them to start eating meat. You could basically, would they be willing to eat crustaceans? Crustaceans are very high in these minerals. So that's an option. There's not many easy solutions for vegans with the sort of foods that they eat. Yes. Oh, ouch, my pancreas, yes. Meat-based diet is good to heal tissue. A lot of veggies is good seasonally for me, but I cheat sometimes. I love a piece of chocolate every now and then. Good oxalate food. Who eats perfectly? Nobody does, not even me. I have vegan options. I think we all do. There's not one person out there, Grim, that doesn't. And if they tell you they don't, they're lying. So, yes. Yes, nothing like liver to sort anemia out as well. Very fast. Good point. The only thing, make sure, because people that are coming from a plant-based diet, copper is much higher, and copper can be a dysregulator, too much of it, and sometimes people don't get enough zinc. So if they're coming off a vegan diet, you should basically not neglect muscle meat, or at least if you're going to do things like liver and organ meats, throw in there some mussels, or probably not mussels, oysters or stuff like that. If you're in certain parts of northern hemisphere, cooked, not raw, too dangerous. And that also would help sort of with the needs, because most of these people that are coming off these diets are deficient in both copper. They're deficient in zinc, not copper. They're getting enough copper from the plants. Sometimes they have too much copper, which is a big problem. So it gets sorted out pretty fast with a meat-heavy diet. But liver can play a role in some of the other deficiencies, but it shouldn't be the main thing. Muscle meat should be the priority. Even tribal societies, they use liver as a multivitamin. They cut small bits and they give to each other on a daily basis as they hunt. They don't eat massive amounts. Okay, let's move on. Harry, how long does it usually take for your epithelium to heal in your digestive system? Depends. Different people, different amounts, depends on the damage. You can have somebody that's got very mild damage and somebody that's got diverticulitis. That would take months. So it really depends. Vitamin D status is so important. Let me say that again. Vitamin D status is so important. So, because remember, what is your gut made of? Collagen. So, what are the main collagen degrading enzyme regulators? Retinol, MK4, vitamin D. Vitamin D plays a big role in both the gut and the lungs, primarily, but does play secondary roles in other tissue as well. So, very important for proper endothelial functions to have good vitamin D status. Another reason why we've seen this explosion in digestive issues around the world as vitamin D deficiencies went up. And we increased the culprits that cause a lot of the problems, plants. So we made ourselves vitamin D deficient by using seed oils that damaged our skin. So we blamed the sun, not the seed oils, and then basically slapped on a whole lot of chemicals to prevent us from getting good levels of vitamin D, made ourselves vitamin D deficient, starved out our beneficial bacteria, allowed the pathogenic bacteria and things like candida and everything else to overgrow, and also ate a whole lot of shit that basically broke down our lectins, broke down our endothelial layers. And also we started pasteurizing milk, which raw milk having lactoferrin was a protective thing because it has a binding effect on lectins. So we really stuffed ourselves up. Now I know Mary did say that colostrum is much better. Well, that's just because colostrum has got 7 times more lactoferrin than regular milk. But it's not a practical thing. You can't go out and buy massive amounts of colostrum. It's a niche product and expensive. It's a good thing for people that are basically have issues to resolve. But for the average person, raw milk, it's got enough lactoferrin to deal with some of those issues. Also good for people that are, that are in your family that are eating, you've got kids, you've got people like that are going to be eating some of this crappy food. Raw milk can be a protective thing to reduce your children's, gut damage. So when they do grow up into teenagers and young adults, they're not as damaged as the rest of the young people. So consider that as an option as well. You can always supplement lactoferrin. I do have it I have it in my drawer. Yes. Oh, another revelation, that cheating Harry. Yes. But it's not to encourage people to cheat using lactoferrin because it helps a bit, but it's not a panacea. Okay? It doesn't solve the problems. I went outside and rolled up the chicken wire, crushed by some of the snow, and finally melted, spray painted my old Crocs. It was a nice dose of vitamin D. I'm happy for you. What is Blinky saying? The little devil. The little devil. That was from my previous comment that I made. I know down deep, he truly loves me. He's got a little temple, my butthole temple. I tell you, he's sick. Believe me. but not as sick as Ted. He's next level. Okay. uh, No. That is actually a product on. Hold on. Let me just. Okay, so is that? Just let me find it. But it has to be done in combination with all the other stuff. So it's not enough to basically, you got to clean up the diet, got to get the B vitamins, and you got to get basically, all that, get the taurine in, get all these sort of things in at the same time to get the better results. So let me just share that. So go in there. So that's the link for that. And so, yeah, basically, kills candida of a can in just 3 days. So, and they've actually done, and they've got actually, there is some research as well on it as well. I just don't know whether I've got the PDF. So, yeah, but you have to combine it with all the other stuff because you have to, sort out other things as well. So it is a multi-prong for great success. Because at the end of the day, you've done that, but you still need to basically restore a proper gut microbiome. The B vitamins and the vitamin D is still required. You still need the Dietary to suppress the pathogenics, so you can basically over time bring back your gut microbiome. So it's sort of do this, suppress it, get the other stuff in, get the beneficials to come back, and the beneficials will keep under control both the pathogenics and things like candida. That's the whole role. It's that you got to restore your gut microbiome in a healthy state. Candida has always been in your body. H. pylori is always, but it's kept under control. When it's not under control and it goes rogue, that's when you get problems. Yeah, I don't know about a salt flush. It probably may help a bit, but I don't think it helps a lot. It's one of those sort of anecdote things that help some people, but you can't do that forever. You're going to cause yourself issues of deficiencies and stuff like that. So it's not an alternative. It's like the other one, like the gallbladder flushes. I don't recommend them because potentially if you do a gallbladder flush and some of those small stones get lodged in the pancreas, you'll end up, I've known people end up in hospital with pancreatitis and being severe. Sometimes they have to go under the knife surgically because they've backed up their whole pancreas. So these things have to be carefully done. We need things like, and that's why you have to be patient. Doesn't happen. Rome, as they say, wasn't built in a day. It's the same thing. To clear out all that, you need MK4 and you need taurine for the bile ducts to be cleared out, for the emulsification to happen so bile actually flows properly and all that sort of stuff. And you may have to take for a period of time some bile salts and stuff like that to help that process so you got proper digestive, and as that sort of over time resolves. So these are not quick fixes, guys. Anybody tells you on a quick fix, doesn't work. That's why when I do the protocol to sort of have that sort of holistic approach in a multi-pronged approach to basically gut restoration over a number of months, because that's what it takes, a number of months. And if anybody tells you it takes less time, they're telling you they're fibbing, or they're selling a product which they're getting good money for. Anyway, or some bullshit alternative crap that doesn't work. Yes. Which is even worse than basically sunning your butt. Are they? They're all part of the same issue. This overgrowth of bacteria, this overgrowth of yeast, it's just basically, things haven't been flowing properly. You've got a situation where your stomach isn't acidifying properly, so it's not, killing off all this sort of stuff. You've got Candida and SIBO usually also grow in an environment where there is an underlying issue with your gallbladder. Because if you've got bile that is flushing out your small intestine, there shouldn't be much yeast or bacteria in the small intestine. There should be very small amounts when the bile flushes that out. If you've got overgrowth, both yeast and bacterial overgrowth, it's because your gallbladder isn't functioning properly. Your liver isn't functioning properly. You're not flushing properly, So you go down to the jejunum where you actually recycle about 90-odd%. So you got an issue in your digestive tract, your whole system. So that's why I talk about a total gut restoration or reset type thing. So, and that's why doing bits in here and all that doesn't work, because most people are trying all these sort of stuff, but the vitamin D deficient, they can't get all the beneficial bacteria back. That it's a mess. Anyway, it's like my cancer one. It's a comprehensive one. Tells you get rid of all the key things that are driving, and then blockade these pathways so the cancer is really just basically, attacked from all fronts, and you cut off its legs or its ability to utilize this pathway, glutamate, this one or whatever. That's the whole strategy. So it's going to be something similar along those lines, but it takes time to put these videos together, people, especially when you got a day job like I have. Patience, please. Okay. Why not? Why not? These need to be hopping around. Eggs are pretty good. Eggs are actually have higher bioavailability. The thing that most people don't realize is eggs and dairy are actually set as 100% bioavailable. Meat is 92%. And when you're talking about plants, they're pretty piss poor. Then you've got things like utilization. Now, while things like protein powders are very high in bioavailability because you've got rid of all the stuff, so it's like sugar, it's taken up very fast. The sort of the bioavailability of animal-based proteins like whey protein, all these things. The thing that most people don't realize is the utilization is pretty low, 17%. So the body has difficulty utilizing it And that is why a lot of bodybuilders use certain anabolic steroids and other things like that to drive it in, to drive that powder and all those things in, because naturally they won't be utilized to the same level. Where meats are about 32%, which is all meats, including fish and steaks and everything else. And eggs, on the other hand, is are nearly 50%. So nearly half becomes. That's pretty good. So that's why eggs are one of the most superior sources, let alone it's got phospholipids, choline, a number of B and A fat soluble vitamins. I mean, it's a superfood as far as I'm concerned. With liver, it's another superfood, but more balanced and not with excessive amounts to cause overvitaminosis. So eggs are fantastic foods. It's what the old bodybuilders used to use, a lot of eggs and dairy combination, trying to get the actual branched chain amino acids from the dairy products in combination with highly utilizable protein from eggs. So they knew something back in those days. They didn't use all this other crap. That's why they lived longer. I'm going to do actually a video on bodybuilders. There's one that I've been promising to make, and it will be on bodybuilders, what they ate and what they eat today, and some of the health consequences of today's bodybuilders and past bodybuilders. So it's going to be very interesting. And I can tell you that if you guys then use that and put it on a number of these sort of sites of these people, I'm going to get a lot of hate mail. But then again, I may get some subscribers, so I don't mind. I've got Blinky to attack them. Maybe that's not a good idea. It can be weak sometimes. But yeah, it's to sort of get that information out and to see the advantages. So don't neglect the eggs. They are fantastic. They are a superfood, guys. Sounds good. We've got some, we've got a few things that we're going to probably do. We're going to do a lamb roast. We're going to do basically also, we're going to do the venison. So we're going to do that as well. So we're going to probably do a different combination of that, and trying to remember what else did Sean say. Anyway, probably going to do a couple of steaks. But anyway, I have to talk to him because we may have to go and buy some really thick steaks as well. So, but whether we're going to do that or we're going to do another thing on the rotisserie or not, I'm not sure yet. So I have to see him later in the week to have a chat. So I'm going to, on Good Friday, go around and have a bit of a chat with him. And we'll probably have some seafood meal that we're planning to, and then we'll sort out how Easter will run in that regard. So he'll send me an email and say, get this, this, and this. He'll give you an itemised list, so we'll work it out that way. So it's at his place, so he'll give me a list. He'll send out a list to others, and that's how it works. Simple. Back chocolate, slow oxalate dumping. Yes. Can bring tears to the eyes. Yeah, I just hated oxalate dumping. God, it was painful. I could remember this was. I was getting like really, like early last year was sort of the tail end of it, and it was towards 2019. Towards the end of that, I had a sort of another attack, and I can't remember my worst attack. I think it was. Was it? It's a long time ago now. Can't remember exactly, but it was in late 2019, and my urine was like foamy. It was. I mean, I was shocked. I was going, "What the hell's happening?" So, and then all the pain and all that, and I started sort of getting like kidney pain and all that, and I just I went and bought myself some apple cider vinegar, because I didn't have any citric acid at the time, so I went and bought myself apple cider vinegar, a whole bag full of lemons, and started doing that and juicing and stuff like that, and that sort of provided me with a lot of relief, and it sort of eased it all up. And I kept on doing that until I got my citric acid, and kept on doing that for about a month or so, and then it all sort of settled down. But bloody hell, I can tell you, it was not an enjoyable experience. That was one of my worst cases. Yes. So, g'day, Bjorn. Good to see you, mate. According to Sally Norton, coffee is very low in oxalate. Yes, it is. That's true. But what we were mentioning earlier is, and it's about 1.5 to 2. That's right. You've got to be below 50 milligrams, which is the important thing. Over 50 is bad. Less than that, coffee isn't that bad in that regard. But what it can do is what I said earlier, is if you do consume it and you've got an oxalate dump, it can lessen the dump. That means the body can go, ooh, there's more oxalate coming in, I better stop, That's what can happen. So it can actually, some chocolate, that's quite high. If you take the sort of the milk chocolate, which isn't the best sort of stuff, it can sort of mitigate slightly. Yeah, it's a hard one with oxalate. It's really, at the end of the day, you really need the citric acid to deal with it one way or another, which is the reality. But yeah, exactly. You're right. I wouldn't concern myself with coffee that much. I do have the lists, and I do have some of her lists as well on my computer, but I was going to do some sort of thing to show all the foods. And then I said, well, this is a carnivore site. Do I really need to do this? But then I know that there are a number of low-carb keto people that do subscribe to me, so I thought at some stage, it's a low-priority thing, but at some stage I will put something together that'll be comprehensive, that people will be able to say, okay, I can exclude all this stuff out of my diet, and I can have some of this other stuff, low oxalate types, because some people just like having some plants. It's the thing with some people. Anyway. With citric acid, it's only, like I was using about depends. I was using about 1 gram 3 times a day. So, yeah, I was going a bit heavy on it. I wanted to go away. Soft, yeah, I know. When you're in that pain. I've had kidney stones. Believe me, Melina, I've had 3 kidney stones. I've been in hospital in my high green, the days that I was eating a lot of spinach and kale and all that sort of shit. Yeah, I ended up in hospital 3 times. Even on a sad diet, I never had kidney stone issues. And then I went paleo, low carb, keto, high, in all these low carb vegetables, which were completely unnecessary. I know that now. But basically, I ended up going to hospital 3 times with kidney stones, twice being operated. Because the first time it was basically like a hook. So it actually left my kidneys into the duct, going, the duct that is between your bladder, and it got stuck in there. So they had to basically laser it out. That was one case. You can't do sonic thing on that because it's very sensitive. You could actually rupture it, so you have to laser it out. That was the first time. The second time, they were able to basically give me enough fluids to clear it out. It was more rounded and all that. The third time, it had this really strange shape. It was, a very abnormal. It wasn't a rounded sort of shape. It was a very strange shape, and it sort of lodged it ended up lodging just at the base, where just at the top of the bladder. And that can be a problem because it was backing up into the kidneys, which was inflaming the kidney, and also it was causing my blood pressure had gone really high as well at the time. What was it? It was about 160 or whatever. So it'd gone really high because if your kidneys are not and you've got a blockage like that, your blood pressure goes through the roof. Other people even higher, depending, And so they had to. Eventually, they realised tried to flush it, putting fluids through me and all that. And they said, they gave up. They said, look, it's backing up into your kidneys, putting a lot of pressure, too much high blood pressure. It's putting too much pressure, and they were reading sort of the biomarkers, sort of like the readings on the kidneys. They were saying, we're gonna protect the kidneys. So they wheeled me in and lasered me for a second time. That was the third time that I was in hospital for. So, yes, fantastic experience. Yeah, so I couldn't recommend it to my worst enemies. Yes, so definitely not something that I want to go back to, believe me. So, yes, all sorts of options. No, look, the man, Bjorn's actually right. Most coffees are pretty low. They're not very high. It doesn't matter what it is. They're pretty low in that regard. But you have to be below 50 milligrams in your diet. So you can have a couple of coffees. If you're on a carnivore diet, it's not a non-issue. The problem is we've all got oxalates. We've all got pre-existing, potential dumping sessions. That's when the problem, really, it's really hits the shitter pretty much. And the pain levels go quite high. Yep, exactly. That's what people in the past did, They consumed lectin, raw milk, dealt with the lectins, and calcium dealt with the oxalates. Now everybody fears milk. I forgot my milk. And I forgot about 20 minutes ago. I should have put my Roy glasses. G'day, guys. Roy's back. Blinky's happy now that he's seen Roy. Yeah, so basically, we've really messed up a lot of ways of traditional eating. Yep. Yeah. But at the same time, with the grains, as I said, with lectins and stuff like that, they can damage your gut lining. Lactoferrin raw milk played a big role. One, people used to soak things. They used to minimize a lot of these anti-nutrients. And then they ate foods that actually dealt with them. So, since previously, it's at the same time, guys, it's not a license to use raw milk or lactoferrin as a cheap thing. You will pay for it in the long run. It's probably one reason I didn't really want to get it out, but and held it back. And then I heard Mary mention there's a compound in milk, and I'm going, should I or shouldn't I? I was in two frames of mind whether I should make it known to people or not in that regard. It's not because I want to be nasty or try to hold things from you guys, but at the same time, I don't want to give you an excuse to say, I can actually grab some of this and I can use this to cheat. You're going to pay for it. I've got the lactoferrin there just for the occasional things. There's somebody retires at work, and I'm in that sort of environment where, you have to be sociable. Well, I take that. I take the low dose vitamin E as well for a couple of days, for a whole week or two. I do all that. So I mitigate some of those things. But it's not, I don't go out of the way to do it on a daily basis. If you do that, you're in trouble. You're eating sugar and crap and all that. Forget about the lectins. Just the sheer sugar and all the other stuff is going to harm you in the long run, like it did. You're back on a sad diet. You can mitigate. You could use it for your relatives who are on a sad diet and unwilling to change. You could probably reduce some of their gut issues. That's true. and probably, some of your vegan friends and all that could probably use lactoferrin. Now, I don't know whether there's bovine-free stuff, which is maybe an issue for them. So there may be some company out there that creates a sort of an artificial form of it, maybe. I don't know, but probably not. So it's probably more your sad dieters that are relatives of yours that could potentially use it in that regard. Okay, so the advanced orthomolecular research, they've actually brought out one as well. Interesting. So there's a bit of competition there. So what's this? Steerable fumarate. Okay. Contains bovine milk. So that's from the whey component. Okay. And okay. Okay, but that's a colostrum one. Nah, it probably doesn't have any. It's probably got all the other stuff. Okay, so I'll just put that up. So there's the advanced orthomolecular one, which has got 250. It's a bit on the pricey side. This one's slightly less, the life extension one. So that's got 300, 95% of it in the apolactoferrin. That's coming from a whey bovine whey formulation, and pretty much looks fairly clean in the other ingredients. This one is slightly less, the orthomolecular one. Are they the same amount? 60 capsules. Yep, 60 capsules. So what's their stuff? Their other ingredients: purified water, sodium sterolene fumarate. Yep, that's pretty good. Bovine, that's fine. All that sort of stuff. Nothing really egregious in that regard. Some people have concerns with silicon dioxide. Some of these compounds are in our body. We use them, small amounts. They're not really a problem. But if you do have an issue, you can go for the other options. But it is the cheaper one out of the three, as you can see. And this is the one that I have. So I'll go and grab it. There it is. There's still quite a bit in there. As you can hear, there's still quite a bit. So when is the date on that? Okay, I've still got a bit more time before it actually goes out of date. As you can see, I don't really use it that often. But it's there for it has a utility in that regard. So I'll put that in there. And that's a cheaper alternative, especially if you've got relatives that are basically hooked or addicted. You've got a partner or kids that are eating this sort of stuff, and you don't want them to end up with a lot of gut issues in the long run from all the lectins that they are consuming on a daily basis or at their friend's place or stuff like that. So there's all those issues. As I said again, it's not a license to basically go spastic on this. It's the only thing that annoys me when I do put a comment in. I should have used the other one. I always forget when I put this comment, I lose my spot. Okay, I just completely lost the spot. Anyway, we will move on. So, yes. In that regard, get rid of that. Oops. Okay, that moved. Good. Everything resolves over time. Well, within reason. It's good for guts, good for gut issues, especially the high lactoferrin. Lactoferrin is really good because it has 7 times the lactoferrin. So it is good for dealing with pathogens and stuff like that. It's been used in the past for a lot of gut issues and stuff like that. Got a lot of the other nutrients and all that. But yes, the problem is that it's all pretty much associational. And that's hard when it's associational because we don't know. We definitely know, and I just lost. Oh, damn, did it actually do that again to me? I lost the other stuff. Anyway, so it's good for the gut. Let's put it that way. Oops. Now, what is happening today? I saw your uncle, Alf, but for some reason I just lost your damn message. So, what is this doing today? So, if you did ask a question to Uncle Alf, please put it back in again because it just basically wiped all the damn things for me. So, that is damn annoying. Damn. I'm going to have to move forward a bit. This one, just a quick one. Hi, Harry. If someone takes MCT oil, will they produce ketones if they're not in ketogenic state? Yes, they will. But it's not a good thing to do because if you're in an inflamed Randall cycle state, it can exacerbate insulin resistance because you're just adding fuel to the flame. More fat, more carbs, more fat, more carbs, and not a good thing. Now, some of it will get through the blood-brain barrier and can be beneficial for the brain, but at the brain, you will also have what is called insulin resistance as well, or diabetes 3, as some people call it. And so, that amount that will go in is not going to really help as much. And it's the reason why people that have got these sort of issues don't really get as much resolution. Then again, they can have a sensitivity to salicylates that are in that, in particular if you come from Northern Europe. So what's the best of breaking down some of that shit in the brain? Taurine. It breaks down beta amyloid plaque. So that is a better way, and a ketogenic diet, to basically sort out, the insulin resistance, or a 3-day fast as a reset. Very hard to convince many people to do those sort of things. I eat 1 to 2 pounds of pork, chicken a day. Would proof be a concern? Nope. Absolutely not. The Okinawans eat pork every day from morning to day. So in every meal. So it's not a problem for them. And Southeast Asians have been eating chicken nearly with every meal. So there are many people in Southeast Asia that live long, healthy lives. It's only the refined sugars and oils that have come into their diet recently that are causing them a lot of the problems, health problems. Before that, when I used to go to Southeast Asia, you'd get a bit of veggies, chicken, an egg, and pretty much a bit of rice, and that was about it in leaves wrapped around, and people had that 3 times a day. So getting good levels of choline and a whole lot of other very important nutrients from the eggs that they consumed, plus from the chicken. And you would say, if you think about it, you'd say, there's a bit of poofa in the chicken, there's a bit of poofa in that pork. But was it causing him any problems? Nope. So animal poofa is not. I've done plenty of videos. Bjorn, you know the videos that I talk about in my slapping down salad boy and his nonsense. And even Bart agrees with me completely. I mean, I've been a pro animal poofer now from the beginning. As you've known from the beginning, you've known me all these years that I've been on YouTube here. Bart was a bit on, wasn't sure about it completely, but we've had chats and he's very much convinced now. And most of the other carnivores now, like Sean, like Ken and all that, they're in line as well. Paul Mason, yep, he basically doesn't see a problem either. So, that in their own way, they've found the same. They've looked at the same stuff potentially as I have in an earlier time slot and came to the same conclusions. There is no problem. People ate shitloads of pork. The main food was not beef. Cattle was primarily used, like cows were primarily used for dairy in the past, and pork, goats, and sheep were the primary food thing that were very easy to transport and move around because we didn't have the big trucks we have today. In America, Cincinnati, it was called Pork Polis. That means a city of pork. And they were in the eastern part of what is called the Midwest, and the southern sort of part of Ohio, and they produced most of the pork for most of the eastern seaboard of America then, in those days, in the previous century. And pretty much that was the main food. It's been the main food for a lot of people. Even look at the old recipe books. You won't find a lot of beef recipes. The majority are of pork. People need to realise we are adapted to eating pork and boar and stuff like that. Our ancestors for millions and millions of years of hominins consumed them. Even the chimps eat small piglets. So, it's a slam dunk. As far as I'm concerned, you cannot have an evolutionary food for that long and say that it's bad. I mean, it drives me mad. It's a sensitive subject with me, as you know, Bjorn. So I get very upset when people see that pork is bad, I feel like spanking them big time. So, yes. So I basically, you got no problems. Don't worry at all. But mix it up. I mean, I usually do eat some seafood. I'll eat some other things. I like to make I know a lot of carnivores out there just eat steaks every day, but at the end of the day, we do need protein. You can eat quite a lot of protein. I mean, you can put a rat on half its life on just protein, high protein, and it will do fine for years, or for months, which is the equivalent of 30 years for humans. So I don't think you're going to have issues, because protein is protein. It's what your body's made. Mammals are made of protein and fats, and if you're giving the body that, it's not something difficult that has to engineer a whole lot of transcription factors, a whole lot of requiring shitloads of micronutrients as cofactors to basically make all this work. The only real critical thing that you need that may be an issue in the carnivore diet is vitamin D. That is it. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that, which we've discussed before. So, anyway. Nice one, Nick. Until it starts hurting. Oh. Yes. I'm just going to cruise through this because I'm so far behind. I just need to get forward again. It's nonsense. It all is sugar when it hits the body. It's absolute nonsense. And fiber doesn't make any difference. It's just crap. All it does is gives you distension, feeds some of the bacteria, and basically some of the bad ones as well, and basically give you a lot of gas. You end up being gassy and end up being definitely an environmental hazard. My raw sour cream is so fermented, I think it's like alcoholic. Actually, I occasionally I do buy like sour cream occasionally. I sort of do like the sourness of it. I sometimes combine it with yogurt, and it's a nice taste. I find it nice anyway. It's an acquired taste for others. Oregano oil and some of the others can help. That's true, but it's not a panacea. At the end of the day, you really need to nip it in the bud in a heavy way, and you need to fix the underlying issues. So I know a lot of people take oregano oil and do not actually get resolution, or they can get slight resolution, but it's with a whole lot of other things helping along the way. So it doesn't hurt, but it's not a panacea. Oh, that previous one was a slang greeting in Japanese. So I expect this one, JD's. Good to see you. Oops. What's that moving in? I like cooking. Most people eat very strict diets because they cannot cook. Oh, there's a bit of truth in that as well. Yeah, I don't mind cooking either. So I like to do different combinations and all that. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, I couldn't eat eggs every day, like just eggs every day, or steak every day. I've got to mix it up. I've got to try other things and do things like that. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to have haven't decided. I may have bacon, like shitloads of it. I've been missing it a bit. Last week I had none, and I pigged out the previous week on quite a bit of bacon, and so I sort of gave last week a miss, but I'm missing it again. Oh, look, it's not really that addictive. Having a couple of glasses. I usually, if I've done a bit of exercise, I'll have a couple. A bit like the Maasai do. So if you're physically active, it is less of an issue, and you've got insulin sensitivity. Depends on the person as well. These people are meat-based vegans, huh? Okay. Carbs are addictive. Ah, yes. The egg. Ah, yes, the king egg. Yes. This will be interesting because it covers also life expectancy and all sorts of other interesting things that people are doing and maybe shouldn't be doing and different things like that. It's sort of the story has to be told, so to speak, by somebody who's going to be objective and not going to be nasty, because I'm not against bodybuilding, but I'm against some of the practices in bodybuilding and some of the actual sort of nonsense and dangerous practices in particular. It's the dangerous practices that I want people to avoid, especially young people that basically jump on board and look at this sort of stuff and potentially can get themselves into a lot of trouble. Oops. Wasn't that moving? Move, please. Yeah, neither do I, Bjorn. I mean, I drink milk. I can stop drinking milk for a couple of days. It doesn't bother me. I don't go, if I was addicted, so I don't think the Maasai are addicted. If people are insulin sensitive and all that, I mean, even basically Mary, when she took of the Maasai men, she basically took like blood samples and also ketones, like blood ketone sort of, and they were around about the one, all of them, and they had fairly good blood sugar control. So yeah, I just don't think it. I think when people are deranged, have too much, they're engaging the Randall cycle, or they've damaged their mitochondria sufficiently so they can't manage certain energy flux in the same way. Somebody that is healthier, there could be a number of underlying reasons. Modern people that are living in modern societies that have deranged their systems and are still damaged, years later, even when they've cleaned up their act, doesn't mean necessarily just because now you're eating better that you don't have some underlying issues and damage that that you're still going to be slightly dysregulated. It takes time to heal. It took me a decade to heal a lot of the things, and I suspect there's still a few things that need to be healed, but that's the reality. There's no there's no pain without the crime when you do a food crime in this case. Okay. Are people insulting other people in other languages now? Interesting. I need to get a dictionary. What does that say? Is that against me? Harry? As long as it says I'm not a cockwomble, that would be annoying. Yes. Now, only Blink is allowed to basically abuse people. Let me get this right. Only Blinky. No one cares about what you eat, Grim. You guys are hard. You're hard. Hard people. Yes. Like alcoholics that hate me. I don't hate you. Oops, I just gave away what I am. Oh. Yes, I'm a part-time alcoholic. Actually, I went dry for a couple of months. Actually, probably my brother Sean actually did he was, how dry, was he 2 years? Nearly 2 years or something like that dry. I couldn't believe it. I said, bloody hell, how do you do it? That was a long time. So I've done it for a couple of months here and there, and now I just will have a drink on special occasions like Easter, those sort of things. Like if I go up to Jake's place, I can't avoid that. Jake just goes, "What do you want?" He's Polish, They drink. His wife's Russian. They drink. You can't say no to alcohol if you go to if you visit them. So yeah, just the way it is. Actually, I should do a video. I'll actually ask him if he wants to do a video with me and show you. He's actually a really good artist. I think sometimes he doesn't realize how good he is. It's like some people are really good, but they don't realize it. And you go, God Almighty, he's sort of, he's a family man. He's got his kid and, his kids. I mean, and he's been married again. That's what I mean. But yeah, he's sort of. And he's pretty good. I mean, he does really some good artwork. He sold some artwork to some fine art type museums. There's outside, he's done this big sculpture outside one of the famous hotels in Tasmania, on the east coast of Tasmania. So, I'm trying to remember its damn name now. Famous, and I can't even remember its bloody name. So it's a well known hotel out there. It's pretty much, don't expect us poor bastards to turn up there. It's for the rich and famous type thing. And he's done actually a statue outside there for that. And a number of other things he's doing now. One for this wealthy individual who has got his wife made with their dog and stuff like that. So yeah, he's a fairly good artist. I'm going to try and convince him to show you some stuff, because he's one of those really, a few people have discovered him and know about him, but I think he's underappreciated and not many people know about him. And it would be nice to sort of promote him further afield amongst you lovely people. Some of you may be artistically inclined, I don't know. Or maybe you're just not interested. And I'm talking to the wrong crowd. Let's move on back to the food stuff. Most of us that go through all these other diets usually have a bit of an addictive personality. I can tell you, the man. So yes, there are some genetics when it comes to that sort of stuff. Which one is that? Any chance that you could stitch disclaimer and the touring video together? Repost. Oh, that. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Is that the C diff one? Oh, I need to do that. I'll try and get it done this week. I forgot all about it. Completely forgot about it. It's been put in the private. It's sort of been deactivated, so nobody can see it. But I need to join it together with the other, and then try and see if I can re-upload it. If I can't upload it in that, I can't, because I've never done it before. So if that doesn't work, then I'll have to just post it as new with a disclaimer thing. Yeah, it's just that basically YouTube is becoming really strange, and even Bart sort of warned me that I have to be very careful because, if you're putting stuff out there without disclaimers and stuff like that, they can take your channel down, or they can, at a minimum, remove a lot of your content. So, I have to be careful in that regard. So, and even after this disclaimer, I'm not sure whether I'm not that safe as well. So, yeah, it is a bit of a worry. It makes it very hard to create content that you want to create, and you've got like this sort of little organization of, basically PC Nazis, just looking over your shoulder, and you feel, let's say, it feels like a threat. In a sense, it's not a very comfortable feeling, especially people that are content creators that literally built YouTube. It wasn't built by them, it was built by us. We created the content. All they did is provide the platform for us to build the content on. Without the content, their platform is just nothing, a bit of code on some server. That's the reality. Beyond, mate. The simple foods of life. Yes. What? What are you guys talking about? Did I miss something? I must have. Be nice, guys. Please be nice. Chill out. Yes. Look, Jules, it's not really a big problem. It's, remember, instant coffee. All it is basically they granulise it, and they basically snap freeze it. That's what it is. It's sort of basically you will roast it as a coffee and then snap freeze it. And the reason why you snap freeze it is basically to prevent it from oxidizing and stuff like that. Now, obviously, if something's been stored, snap frozen, has been basically ground up, snap frozen, to some extent, it's going to slightly oxidize, but it's going to take some time to oxidize. And it's got, in terms of basically the fats in it, it's so little, your body can sort it out. It's not a big issue. It's not going to basically kill you. Let's put it that way. It's not really that, the biggest problem is for most people, it's the caffeine, whether they can detox it or not, whether their liver can deal with it fast enough, or whether it's going to keep them up all night, or overtax the liver where it can be doing other things. So, because the liver does a lot of other detox, if you overtax the liver in terms of detoxification, well, possibly it's not doing other things that are very beneficial for your body. So, yeah, are you a fast metabolizer like I am? If you're not, maybe coffee's not the best thing for you, or for most people that are slow metabolizers, including alcohol, the slow metabolizers. So I can pretty much deal with all medications because I'm a fast metabolizer. I can clear it out of my system. Not everybody is, and they can have certain issues. I know one of my friends recently had certain issues, and she'd gone and had an injection at a dentist, and then basically had issues of dizziness and stuff like that. Maybe, genetically she's not capable of clearing it out of the system as efficiently. That can be a problem. So she's better now, which is the main thing. It took her a few days to sort of clear it all out. So So it may not be ideal if you're not a quick metabolizer. So it can be an issue for people. Oops. Not sure what he said. Why? Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. We know now Bjorn's basically a coffee snob. Yeah, I usually like a good coffee as well. So, actually, because all my mates, they've got a business where they coffee business and stuff like that. And well, my brother Sean and Kim, they basically deal with a lot of that. They do repairs, so they've got a small little company that does a lot of repairs for people's coffee machines around the place, and they also provide product as well. They sell product in that regard. So I've got access to good quality coffee all the time via them, and one of their baristas that basically also produces. He's a really he really makes. Sam is one of the best baristas that I've come across in terms of coffee. It's just absolutely perfect. He gets it. He's really good at what he does. So I'm lucky in that regard to be able to get a really good quality barista based coffee, or somebody that knows what they're bloody doing, because not all baristas do. They either don't set the grinder properly, or the temperature variation, so you can have issues there. So there's a lot of things to do with that sort of stuff, even with the environment where the grinder is, because you can have, especially if you're outdoors, the temperature can change and it can affect the way also the coffee granules and stuff like that can stick and stuff like that. There's all sorts of issues with temperature and stuff like that, and it's a fine art, so to speak. You've got to know your shit. Let's put it that way. That's why they created instant coffee, because it basically makes it easy for the average Joe Blow or J Blow. Really? Okay. It's interesting. I mean, I know that coffee's got quite a bit of niacin, and niacin also tends to require, because when it's used, for NAD plus, guess what else is required in terms of ATP synthase, because it's called MgATP, magnesium. So it could actually underline a subclinical deficiency in magnesium, potentially. So if you were ketotic in the past and you never really dealt with it, could be something there, potentially, and all it's doing is magnifying that effect. Speculation on my part, but it could be the mechanism. I'm just thinking creatively at the moment. So next time you try regular coffee, get a bit of magnesium into you and see whether that sorts things out in that regard. Could be, because when you actually have like a barista type coffee, you're going to lose more of the fat soluble vitamins because it's cooked at a much higher temperature, so you don't get much niacin. It's really the granules of the regular sort of coffee. That's where you get more. You don't lose that sort of stuff, the niacin, so it's much higher in niacin. So that's why I'm thinking the connection. You're increasing the redox potential in the mitochondria. That requires more magnesium, maybe. So just a bit of creative thinking on my part. I could be completely wrong. You could try it. Let me know. How does one deal with senescent cells? Topically, the best. Is there such a thing? Cream? No, I don't think there is a cream. I haven't come across a cream that helps with removing senescent cells. Just a form. If you see the cancer thing that I talk about senescent cells, there is a thing, and let me just grab it. There it is. Ficetine. That's for Dad. I haven't delivered it yet. I've got 2 for him, but I haven't taken them around. So I was going to do it today, but I fell freaking asleep because I was going to go to the butcher's, and I go past Dad's place to get to the butcher's. But I was napping while Ling was trying to call me. Where are you? Oops, sorry. And I fell asleep. I was tired. So, yes. So that's the sort of stuff. Now, there's 2 ways of doing it. One, every day. And there's another protocol. I'm not recommending that protocol yet. That was done on animals, and I need to investigate it. It could be much better, but it could be also risky in humans. I don't know, so I don't recommend it. So if you're going to be using it, 1 a day and nothing else, what that will do is clear out a lot of the senescent cells. What actually also will happen is as you clean out the senescent cells, your CD38 will actually come down. Less senescent cells, less production of CD38, which is a protective mechanism to prevent senescent cells becoming cancerous. And naturally, your NAD will go up. So, to more youthful levels when you get rid of senescent cells. Combination of this and some niacin, not too much. Remember, we don't want to over-suppress CD38. It's a protective mechanism, so no more than 300 milligrams per day in terms of niacin. So try and stick below that. You don't get much benefit, let alone potentially long-term undermining certain natural mechanisms, protective mechanisms. So we need to be very careful. Crackpots will tell you take 1,000 milligrams. They're crackpots because they don't know. They'll probably end up giving themselves cancer because they're so stupid. But yes, they think more is better. No, more is not better. You got big fingers? You bragging? How long does timeout last? I got no idea with this program. It's all over the place. Anyway, I'm just cruising past because I'm so behind. I am absolutely shitloads behind. So I'm going to move forward. And if I miss some questions, so be it. Trying to see whether I can see any ones that are interesting. What's this? Need the rules to get banned if you're a mod. Not like potatoes. No, that's not it. This one. Oh, yes. So, Harry, I'm struggling to try to get enough protein in my diet. I'm thinking of adding whey protein powder, but I know you've warned about deuterium. How can I decrease or mitigate deuterium? More fat or deuterium depleted water. You go and see the cancer one, you'll see the deuterium depleted water stuff. It is pricey. That's the problem. But you can balance. The sun, it's free. If you've got sun, go out it. Every hour in the sun is 19 parts per million less in your system. So the sun can deplete deuterium, UV. So that's another thing. And do check my cancer video towards the end. I do cover the deuterium side of things, and I do provide some information in regards to that. So check that out. That's another plug for my cancer video. Got to plug these things somehow. He's bragging. God. It's like the Irish with their 4-leaf clovers. Don't exist. Oops. Got people talking about carrots and all sorts of bloody things here. You guys have got interesting lives. That's all I can say. The Maasai, the Hansa, and all the other tribes in health, according to Mary Ruddock. Yeah, they are better. They are, yes. Look, if you take a look at Europeans, you tell me, I usually say to people, show me the big dairy populations, the Indo-Europeans, the Mongols, all these populations. They were steppe people, tribal people. They didn't have big civilizations behind them, but still, because of the genetic advantage of milk, lactose persistency, as I've talked about in the past, that lactose persistency allowed them to have more kids and support them with the milk of primarily horses, which basically gave them a massive advantage in building up bigger standing armies, more population. They could be dominant. That's why populations that are not basically like the Hudsers, desperate to find lean meats and struggle to find sufficient nutrition, these guys are eating, milk-heavy diet, which is giving them a lot of, because milk is very high in, especially cream, which they give to their children, massively high in saturated fats, So we're talking about some of the, the best fatty acids to build good tissue, good membranes, cell membranes. This is why they are so strong. And the populations, we didn't accidentally basically consume milk. We realised the value of it in an early part. Even populations in Southern Africa that don't have lactose persistent genes, they actually ferment it. They ferment it to get rid of the sugar component and then consume it like that because they recognize the value of high quality protein. Remember, eggs and dairy are 100% bioavailable. Meat isn't, it's 92%. So that is why, and the utilization of eggs is very high. That of, when it comes to milk, casein, whey tend to differ. They're all over the place, and it tends to be also the source and all that. But it's probably, slightly, most of it in general probably is better than meats. Some of the parts can be slightly less, like whey can be slightly less in a sense. So even processed, even worse. So that's why I'm not into powders. More high deuterium, also low quality at the same time. So yeah, what can I say? I'll leave it at that. People in Europe have made yogurts and all sorts of things, kefirs and all sorts of things. You don't want to be consuming kefirs all the time, but now and then, yes. But yeah, so when you get good nutrition, animal nutrition, and it's raw, has to be raw. Has to have all the beneficial components, including the lactoferrin, which is very important. This is why Europeans could tolerate some, even a lot of the grains were basically soaked and fermented and stuff like that. Even most bread was basically sourdough. So basically there were fermentation process traditional. Now because it's done by big corporates, they don't care. They just want it quick, instant. So they don't go through all those laborious processes that our ancestors. So they reduce the anti-nutrients in our ancestors so they can get more bioavailable nutrition from these plants. Plus, they incorporated the high lactoferrin foods, which is the milk, to basically bind to these compounds and remove them. This is why when people say in the past, they point the finger and say, oh, well, people have eaten carbs in the past and all that. And I go, yeah, they combine it with raw milk, and that's got something that sorts out the, those pesky little lectins, So, you won't get that from from the vegan kill cult. They don't basically know about this because they're not interested. They just, like Grundy, basically say, oh, just avoid lectin foods. God, the poor vegans go, what's left? There's nothing left. Seaweed. Exactly. Say no more. So, yes, I'm not surprised. If you look at tribal populations, and they've actually looked at bones, archaeologists, they don't show the stress fractures that agriculturalists have, but they do show some. You don't see it in the Maasai because they've got a good food supply all year round. It's called milk. And most Europeans as well. This is why, as I say, great societies were built on milk. Anyway, let's move on. Yes. Good stuff. Yeah, she's pretty good. Now, she will, next week's live, because this week she was supposed to be tonight on this live stream, but next week, same time, the Eurasian live stream, Mary's going to be on there. So when she comes on, I want you guys to have a lot of questions ready. And those who can't make it, for whatever reason, you may have some family commitments, I'm going to actually load it up on Thursday, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So what it will mean is you guys will have a couple of days. First, you'll have a couple of days through the week to think about your questions and think about, I tried to go into all the nitty gritties that I could think of. Guys, think of some nitty gritty stuff, things that we're always pesky about and say, people will say, oh, what about this about the Messiah, or what about that, or what about this, or whatever. Let's get our questions, so we can actually ask them. It's like the ones that I asked about honey and a whole lot of other things about the Hunza. Let's get all the questions out there so we can actually ask her. She has, a lot of it's going to be in the movie as well, but she has also first-hand experience. And she got back to me and said, oh, look, some friends had flown in and I have to go hiking with them. I've sort of, I can't come. And she really was disappointed. And I sort of, when I read the first part, I'm going, oh, damn, because I know she was going to Namibia, following, in the next week or whatever. So I was going, oh, shit, I won't see her for ages until she gets back to Greece. And then she basically emailed me and basically said that the next part in the next paragraph basically said, yep, I'll be on next week. So she's promised she'll come on next week. So you guys have got a whole week to think of a whole lot of questions for her. So get thinking. Basically, meat, blood, and dairy. Exactly. And, that's why they don't need salt, because they get plenty of it from the blood of animals. A lot of the tribal people do in that regard. Also, the important thing, they don't need as much water because they're having low deuterium water. either from plants or from dairy products compared to regular water or from sugar, which is high deuterium. So basically, and they're out in the sun all the time, so they're actually reducing 19 parts per million per hour in the sun. So that's why they're so damn healthy. So I would actually add sun to that as well. And that's why they live very old ages, So some of these vegetated people talk about, no, there's plenty of old age people that actually... Now, the life expectancy, because of infant mortality or people basically being attacked by a lion and killed or something like that, you're living in a very dangerous environment. Well, what do you expect? So, yes. Bjorn says there's something about Mary. We know he's got a bit of a crush on Mary. Yes, I think we all do to some extent. She's a really nice lady. Yes. Better be careful what I say. I'll get myself into trouble. Do-do-do. Yeah, well, it's the reason also why they consume some tubers. It's the whole reason why a lot of tribal societies were forced into agriculture, why we were forced into agriculture or a pastoral existence, because as the weather got warmer, the animals got leaner. See, animals in the wild in the warmer climates actually end up leaner. The mammoths were fatty animals. This is why the N15 data is so, in the past is so high. And then as the warmer spells come in, the N14 levels start increasing in the bones of people. So it's as a consequence of being forced, not because people want to eat tubers or grains or stuff like that. It's the whole reason of the ApoE gene being changed. So the actual fat that's coming in as a remnant chylomicron, that will stay in the bloodstream and not be uptaken to cause resistance in the liver. So it will be slowed down because you've already got some sugar. You've eaten a tuber or whatever. You've got some sugar in there. You've got to slow the fat coming in. So it's a protective mechanism, the ApoE. So the HDL basically says, no, I'm going to hand you your key slowly. And when you got ApoE2, you go, oh, yeah, you can wait, So as a consequence, you can clear out. Where the 4,4s, on the other hand, which is the more traditional one that all the different apes and early humans had, and still a lot of tribal populations have quite a bit. This is why they do very bad on our diet compared to us. They suffer, Australian Aborigines, the Inuit, all these populations, when they start eating, the Hadza or anybody start eating high sugar diets and go to the cities, they get sick much quicker and worse than us. It's again because of the genetics. They haven't had the 10,000 years of adaptation to more plants. The Hadza, slightly more adaptation compared to many others. But they also, as Mary pointed out, it's seasonal because tubers are seasonal. So even though they're eating some animal products with some tubers, there's a low grade Randall cycle activation potentially, for a short amount of time, that will actually put a bit of fat on them, which is a good thing. That small, and it's not like chronic inflammation. It's small amount. It'll put a bit of fat on them. And so in the non-season part, in the other 8 months, when there are no tubers around or whatever, then they've got that extra fat to burn off, to utilize with leaner meats. It works, So their societies have functioned for a long time, and they've actually been able to balance with it. The biggest threat to these populations isn't basically their food as much. the biggest threat to their population is all these fucking Western environmentalists turning up and wanting to lock up all these wildlife areas into sanctuaries and parks and literally kick out all the tribal people. That's the biggest threat. That is what is driving all these populations into cities and into the kibble culture like the rest of us. Yes, very few people on the land nowadays in Western countries. 2% of the population, 2.5% are actually involved in agriculture directly. The rest are living in cities. And that's what's happening in Africa now and many other parts of the world. Traditional societies are being, pushed to the margins or forced into cities, into shanty towns. Yes, it's not a good situation, but that's the reality. All those dickheads allow, because, you take out the main predator, which is humans in some of these environments, you see some level of degradation in the actual environment. But do you think these idiots care? Nah. They're so fucking up their ass, they wouldn't. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yes, that's why Mary's out there trying to basically whip up some, people can donate, like $100 or whatever. It actually allows them to get an animal. So she's promoting that on her site, and they will be doing that with a movie that they're going to be putting out. I'm going to purchase the movie when it comes out. So we'll definitely do that to support that effort. And people can donate in different ways, so they can help these populations get some animals and be able to feed themselves, so they're not dependent as much on hunting. So it's hard for all of these populations. It's really hard. What can you do? They've literally been, unfortunately, marginalised, and they don't know enough about the modern world to be able to navigate it like the rest of us. No, this is Restream. Nothing ever works properly. It's frustrating with some of these applications. I wish they worked and wish they didn't. They maintained all the stuff, the stream properly, and I can basically play around with it. But that is the specific strain. Remember, let me just, when we talk about lactobacillus, bifidobacterias, or whatever, whatever bacteria and all these bacteria come in countless strains. So, and those strains have got these numbers on them. Though some of the strains, so in lactobacillus, as an example, there are some strains that can be beneficial. There are some strains that can be neutral or slightly pathogenic. So acidophilus, for instance, there are some strains in the acidophilus that are fine. Some strains that actually can increase, encourage the addiction, can push up ghrelin. And the ghrelin, when it actually is being pushed up by these little bacteria, you go, I'm hungry, I want more sugar. So, yes, so there can be some of those. And guess what the food industry does? They put these little culprits in food because they want you addicted to their stuff. They know it. Bunch of fucking assholes, to say the least. Yes. Ah, yes. Dom knows exactly how to do it. There's your advice. I can't help it, Jules. I can't help it. Yeah, that's. uh, I'm glad you think it's okay. I haven't revealed any other surnames, or I don't do that. But yes, it's a beautiful name. You should be proud to have a name like that. Anyway, YouTube is making life difficult in so many ways. Say a video is removed from the playlist, you're left with missing videos you don't even know that's gone. It's finding it, or at least the channel. Yeah, I know it's problematic. It's at best it's a what do you do? I mean, you can complain and complain. They just ignore us. They don't care. They really don't care. There you go. That's a milk sculling. I had to because it's 8:30. I gotta drink it because gotta stop eating. Okay. So tomorrow I'll have to have lunch a bit later. Oh, anyway, so be it. Anyway, so what was I doing? Yes, it's very much that. When I learnt I was a fast coffee metabolizer, I stopped drinking it. There's no point to it. It doesn't work. Wake me up. It tastes like Black Death. See, go the other way. Yes. Everybody's, I mean, that's the funny thing. I mean, everybody in my family is a fast metabolizer. I mean, we can go to sleep like that. But my younger sister, myself, and dad probably like coffee. My older sister, she'll have coffee, but she's not a big coffee drinker. So even though she metabolizes it doesn't affect her. But, you go, well, I'm not really interested in it. So, everybody has their own choices to make on that thing. It's not unnecessary. I just enjoy the taste. I know some people go, you enjoy the taste, I do. But, we all got strange taste buds. Strange taste buds. Yep, definitely. Goodbye. Nice having known you. If you've got enough ketones and enough fatty acid, you're fine. Don't worry. I actually had a big steak once and actually just knocked down to 3.7, which is about 66 in the American version, and in the European one, which is 3.7. And what was my ketones? 1.3. That's right. It come down from it was 2 something. I can't remember whether it was 2.4 or 2.8 or something like that, and it just dropped. I had this massive steak, and deliberately, it was just literally all over it was just, like a large plate, massive steak, very hard to cook because it's so large, and it took me ages to eat. And when I looked at my ketones had come down, my blood sugar had gone down, I'm going, but I felt fine. So I think you're fat adapted, don't have to worry. The only time you have to worry is if you're not fat adapted. That's when it becomes, or if you're silly and you take high levels of niacin, higher than I recommend, which is 300 micrograms, then you can get into trouble. Then you can get into real trouble because you're shutting down gluconeogenesis and you're also basically lipolysis. So you're inhibiting some of these functions with too much. So, yes, the idiotic things that people do to chase immortality, yes, cause themselves other health problems, and then they have to take metformin and other things and do all sorts of other crazy things, that people do because they derange themselves in one way or another. Yes, the weird and wacky world that's out there of some people's, more is better. Let's just, not think about that our genetics transcript specific pathways for specific things to work in a certain way. But, yes. Ah, yes, Utopia are well known as one of the greatest environments for censorship. Yes. It is their middle name. No, I haven't. I'll look into it now. I've heard about it. Yeah, I've heard about it, but yeah, but I haven't looked into it. I don't know enough about to really comment and all that. There are some other also nootropics that also can have certain like effects, anabolic effects as well. So I'm going to I'm going to discuss a number of these things as well. But this one will be not so focused on nootropics. That's going to be a separate future video. But I'm still drilling down into the, you could say, into basically looking into side effects primarily. I'm trying to cover all bases. I don't like talking about things unless I've covered everything, and also mitigation strategies. This stuff and lectins as an example. But you gotta look at things in a multiple way, and it can take some time to research. I've got a whole lot of PDFs, but I haven't. Not that I'm lazy, but it's the damn time to basically read them all is the biggest issue. So yes, I'm trying to get through them. Let's put it that way in that regard. So yes, I'll be looking at this one and a number of others as well. But yes, it takes time. But the other focus will be more on the next one that I'm going to do is more on life expectancy and more on basically some of the dangers and some of the things that people are doing. And then I'm going to go at a future date, I'm going to look at some of these nootropics and some of these other compounds that are used to elicit some anabolic effects. I think a lot of them are slightly overblown. There's not good enough information, but synergistically altogether, there may be something in it at a competition level. But does the average person require to do that? Probably not. So could there be certain health problem issues with them long term? Potentially. So got to be careful with that sort of stuff. Unless you're really getting into competition where competition is more important than longevity, that's a different thing altogether. That's a different type of discussion. Yeah, I've heard that, but it's like, the thing that I'll be talking about, insulin, and their anabolic statements that people make. Are they really true? It's a mixed bag, and that would be for that other video. I don't want to talk about it yet and give too much away, but yeah. So it's a lot of that sort of stuff, and yeah, I've got my own opinions in that regard, but I need to basically present them in a proper way with evidence. I don't like talking about things without presenting them properly when I'm making grandiose statements. Samsung this week, YouTube unsubscribed one of You Did It Wrong TV YouTube members and a mod twice in a day. What? Look, it's just crazy. I know that one of my friends got unsubscribed from me. So yeah, it's like I've seen cases where one day my membership went up, 2 or 3 people, and then the next day it's gone down, and then a couple of hours later it's gone up again to where it was. The people basically realised that it had been unsubscribed. It's just evil pack of bastards. It's really hard to fight them, and and they have an algorithm that disadvantages small. It's really hard to get over that 1,000 threshold, and that's what part of what the earlier stream was with Sky was her wanting to help me get over, which is really nice that she actually suggested we do something like that. She said 80% you're not going to do it because she thought that her content I wouldn't want on my channel, but I didn't mind. I thought it was, we had a bit of humor, a bit of funny. There was a bit of sciencey there as well with a bit of humor. So it worked out not too bad. Maybe it could have been better, but I'm not a comedian. I'm not a but it wasn't too bad in that regard. But it's a struggle for a lot of us smaller YouTube channels or the alternative thinking types that we don't think like the mainstream, commercial-based sort of the establishment sort of things. It's much harder, and it's not only us, in the carnivore community, but probably even some people in the, in some parts of the other communities, vegans and all that. Some of them, not the, the more exoteric, like the frugivores, and those are probably not the ones that are sort of, because they're actually talking against. Some of them, the ones that are talking against the kibble, like the modern fake meats and stuff like that, they also are getting slightly shadow banned. And I've been listening around as I cruise around the web. So, if you're not basically part of the commercial sort of thing of YouTubia, yes, you can be on a shadow ban list to some extent, or being undermined in terms of, how much you get noticed and stuff like that. Exactly. My point, Jules. Who needs coffee when you can sunbathe your buttholes? Ah, yes. And you're in lovely sunny Queensland, so you can do it on a regular basis. Please let us know how it went for you. Were you energized, or have you tried it yet? Down here in Hobart, we just, I'm concerned about pushing my butt against the actual window. It's not a good look, so, scare the neighbours away. Probably, and not only that, there are some old ladies that live around this place. I'll have them dropping like flies. Or excited at the window with small amounts of money. It's not a strip club. God. Could be a worrying situation. Yes. So, yes, you never know. Next stop, OnlyFans. She was probably an OnlyFans dropout and realised, it's saturated. I'm not making any money in OnlyFans. I need to find some alternative. Let me create an alternative cult type bloody thing. God almighty, it's crazy the world, what people do out there. Yeah, it's wacky. But it was funny, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was light humour. I sort of, after I thought about it, and I said, you could have been a bit more Monty Python-ish, Harry. I said to myself, got to work on. I'm okay with a few one-liners here or there and some of the general teasing and stuff like that. But sometimes, I mean, I'm not a comedian, as I said. Um, I didn't have enough time because I got late. I went up to bloody Jake's place, and then by the time I got back, I know it's no excuse. It was late, and then I had to do chat with somebody online from overseas, and then by the time I got to bed, I got up in the morning. I just didn't have the time. I was running around like a goose with my head chopped off, and I just didn't have the time to literally. I didn't even that second video. I only had watched half of it. As you can see, I stopped at half, and I was supposed to watch all of them, then go through and work out like type things to throw in at different intervals to really create even better humor. But I didn't get around that, so I was just improvising right through. So I could have done better. Anyway, it's always another time. Ah, yes, it definitely is delicious. Yes, Bart doesn't know what he's missing. Well, maybe he does in terms of his tummy reaction. Ah, yes, they love the stuff out there. All through the Horn of Africa, camel, and in the pretty much the Arab Peninsula, pretty much a lot of people consume a lot of camel milk. The good thing about camel milk that's even better than all the other milks, it's even lower in deuterium than the other milks. It's a lot of people talk about the health promoting effects of the camel milk. And when I look at the composition of the camel milk, the lactoferrin and all these other things, in general terms, it's not too far different from cow's milk. But I think it has one advantage: the lower deuterium levels in camels generally. And I think that's where the advantage is. If I was going to find any sort of advantage to say, it's like having low deuterium water, there's got to be something in it in that regard. I know it's got less deuterium compared to other milks. So even human, it's got less. So I'm saying that's probably the beneficial component that separates it. I'm speculating, but I can't think of any other component that actually is that really, all milks have lactoferrin, they have all the other substances. They have them in slightly different composition. I mean, even human breast milk has more lactoferrin than actually bovine. So, it's just, I may be clutching at straws, but I think that the deuterium levels are probably the thing, I just love somebody to basically test, because you have to, you're going to test the milk for deuterium. You got to test it all year round at different times so you can get an average for the whole year. That's the only way of actually doing it. One-off tests, yeah, they may show low, but it doesn't mean it's all year round low. So I'd be really fascinated if anybody knows of any subject on deuterium and camel's milk. Send it my way. It's, things that I like that are esoteric. It's really hard to find things, nearly because nobody's done the research more than likely. So anyway, one can only hope that some person out there was bored one day and decided to do a bit of research. You never know. Ah, yes, the holy cow. Yes, the milk giver. The holy milk. Pretty much people that live that have look, even people in Europe in the past, when it was even in the 50s and 60s, when we didn't have this modern type of the the sort of level of automation, the level of technological development that's happened since the Second World War, that's brought about the consumer societies and all that. Before that, even people in most Western countries consumed up until the 60s and even 70s were consuming a lot of animal organ meats in vast amounts, and still in some Western countries they still do, like in Greece and a few others. Nothing goes to waste. So it's probably the English-speaking countries that have gone down the path of processed food more than any other countries. And that's why their health is much worse. And they tend to basically shun animal organ meats and stuff like that quite a bit. You're throwing away additional nutrition, a multivitamin, which is very cheap. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality. From this end, my interaction is pretty good. So, see ya. Yes, it is. Enjoy yourself. He's always up to mischief. You should know that, Dom. Some sort of explosion in Blinky's brain. Yes. One can only fathom. Are we interrupting you? Oh, God. Sorry for interrupting you. How awful. He's probably... G'day, doctor. How are you, mate? Oh, I'm glad you were sunbathing. That's probably what Blinky's doing. I'm busy. He's outside, butt bathing. Hey, don't knock it until you try it, DJ Projectus. God almighty. It's crazy how all the vegans have gone crazy. It's just one madness after another. Doesn't surprise me. Yes, the crazy kill cult of the vegan movement. Yes, the misanthropists, yes, have gone really around the bend. They're losing the plot. Big time. We are getting close to finishing. Nah, unless you lock people up or you do things on prisoners. So if you've got lifers, so all the lifers that are in prison around the world, and you randomize control them, and you do something like for 33 years, which is one generation, and basically look at the out effects. I can tell you one thing, after 33 years, the vegans will have gone insane and probably murdered each other in the jail. So, but that will actually prove that it's basically a very dangerous diet in 30 years' time. But that's what you'd have to do, because there is no other way of locking. Obviously, the ultimate would be basically like the clones of rats, is to basically have twins or clone people and do the experiments on them. I don't think that would get through an ethics committee somehow. So the next best thing is prisoners who are locked up, and you basically you have to work out who have got certain disease characteristics, and also look at things like smoking habits and stuff like that, and try to separate the groups and say there's going to be a smoking group, a non-smoking group, and we will randomize the smoking group, and then we'll combine again the groups again. So if let's say half the people are smokers, every single diet group will have half the smokers. So nobody can say it's been confounded by too many smokers in this group or that group or whatever. So that's how you'd have to eliminate that. Alcohol's not going to be a problem because you can't get alcohol in jail, but smoking you can. So it's those sort of things, and then you would basically compare those in a number of decades, every 10 years, like they did with the Framingham study or something along that. But in this way, you really control the variables. They eat only what you give them. They can't eat anything else. No cheat meals, no nothing, just what you're fed. And that's pretty good because then you can clearly say whether what effects happen from the different diets. We know with 1 year or 2 years and a follow-up of 5 years, like the direct study, we know that Atkins is superior, both in the direct study out of Israel back in 2005 and in the Stanford University study of the A to Z. Again, same effects. So we are quite clear that at least over 1 to 5 years that Atkins is superior. And I would also extrapolate from that. When you look at the inflammatory biomarkers, they all go down on Atkins diet. On some of the other diets, they either remain the same or slightly go up. So long term, if they are elevated or have not gone down, wouldn't you think that that person is going to get sicker than somebody that is less inflamed? Logic would dictate that. But obviously, because we don't have long-term studies, we can't speculate in those. We can't definitively say that's the case. We can only speculate that if we were to project outwards, it is the likelihood, but we can't prove it definitively. So all we can do is basically hope that at some point in time, we find volunteer prisoners that are lifers and can get some benefits for their families, that are willing to participate in such studies that would help the rest of humanity. At least they would be paying back some of their debt to society in a positive way. So that would be great to do something like that. And it would basically then be able to clear, it would be definitive. It'd be very hard to say otherwise then under those circumstances. Yes. So, why is this gone haywire? Anyway. Harry emojis on Discord are becoming quite vast ATM. So I told you he was into the butt stuff. He's basically creating butt things, and I know you're worshipping the butt. Yes. You're being worshipped. Do you realise that? Just letting him know, just for argument's sake. Yes, you got a new fan. You got Blinky as your new fan, mate. Yep, that's how he felt as well. All teary. Yes, nature is so complicated. Yes. But what we do have is the isotope analysis. That's the things, at the end of the day, nobody can go back. None of us can say, well, I've got a long-term, multi-generational study that can actually prove that one diet is superior to the other. But we do have archaeological evidence of which was the species appropriate diet that we've been consuming for most of the time. And for most of the time, due to very high levels of N15 isotopes, we know it's not N14 from plants, N15, highly concentrated in hominins and Homo sapiens for thousands and thousands of years tell us one thing, that we were either super or hyper carnivores. And when we were super carnivores, we may have consumed a bit like an interglacial hot period. We may have consumed some seasonal sugars, but very small amounts. That's why the ApoE genes were expressed in those warmer patches. But technically speaking, it was, for a very short period of time in the year. It's only in this warmer interglacial period that we're basically, we exploded on the scene. It was much warmer. There was much more available animals and vegetation, all sorts of things. And at some point, the competition became very strong, and as that competition, because we had these big mammoths and big mega beasts and all that, it grew the world population of humans. Then these things started declining. So as they declined, what do animals do? I'll give you an example. When you see rats go into basically a silo of grain, they can clear it out very fast, and then they die in mass. Humans, when they're hungry, they're going to go after everything and anything. Do you think they're going to basically back then thinking about environmental or whatever? No. Like any species, they're going to go after to get as much. And that is why the mega beast collapse happened. They ate their food source. And as a consequence, then the environment started changing at the same time, which was a real unfortunate thing for them. And as a consequence, or fortunate thing for us, so that's why we're here with mouses and, on YouTube and whatever else, fortunately for us, that it did. And they had to choose, either a pastoral life or a kibble life. And out of that came surpluses, and they were able to build civilizations and larger societies that could transform the planet. But the reality is that this happened because we had no option. We had to shift out of necessity. Some societies did it more than others, depending on the topography and the pressures, because it's always pressures will be, because of the different topography, there'll be differential environmental pressures forcing the hand of people and creating the necessity to innovate and change. Other societies that have less of that, they won't. It's not because they can't, it's just they don't need to. It's simple as that. Or they're constrained by their environment. Anyway, we're over 3. Yes, those Vikings and their fruit-loving behaviours. Their fruit-loving eccentric behaviours. Yes. People don't realise. Up in Scandinavia, bananas grow really large. Really large. Isn't that right, Bjorn? Yes. We should send Freely up there. Send her out in the wilderness. You'll find plenty of bananas there. God almighty. She's a whack job. Is she still around? Is she alive? Or is she, has she got even more feral than before? I wonder sometimes. She was already losing the plot. Demented and hostile towards everyone. God. Anyway, I'm going to go right to the end because I can. I knew Bjorn would say that his bananas. We'll send Freely your way then, mate. The thought of that, Freely, oh God, don't send her. Yes, yes, very much so. At least we got Flappers excited today with what was her name again? Meta. Oh, for fuck's sake, Meta Megan was, I think, metaphysical Megan, was it? Or I think it may have been. I can't even fucking remember now. Anyway, so Fappers was really excited when he saw her Instagram page. Really excited. Yes. He went bananas. What was that? Really? Oh, that horror. She's heading your way, mate. You've said you've got a big bananas up there, so she's heading your way. You got to be very careful what you say. People are going to post this on her site and say they got big bananas up there, and she'll go absolutely ape shit. Oh God. Oh, we're an eagle. Yes. Oh, that's nasty. That is nasty. Oh, he gets very upset when you say that to him. He's very homophobic. He literally goes, yes, gets very, very, and then he calls me fairy. I go, yeah, I'm a cute little fairy. You love me, don't you, Flappers? And he goes, quiet. Oh, bloody hell. He's funny. He's young, and he'll grow out of it, hopefully. Just continue. I hate when it actually bulges outwards a bit. What can one say? Oh, God. Those are fighting words, Blinky. Fighting words. This will get out. You'll be in trouble. They'll be after you. Anyway, guys, it's 7 minutes past our regular time slot at 9 o'clock. So it's 9:07 down here in Hobart. So I'm about to pull the plug. I've got work tomorrow, and I need to sort out a couple of things as well. Write out an email, send that off, and also I've got one or two things because I want to do some. I've got some videos that I need to do tomorrow at work, which are training stuff. So that's going to keep me busy I'll probably leave it for the afternoon. It's easy to do in the afternoon. Yeah, I'll probably do that. But got some stuff to do that, and got to get some of this material ready because we're employing another person. She's coming in from New South Wales, so that'll be interesting. But yes. So I've got to get some material, training material and other things. I've got a few other things that I've on the back burner that need to be sorted. So going to keep me busy tomorrow in that regard. So, yep. Thanks. What was that? You got a question for Roy? He's here, mate. He's here. Anyway, I will leave you wonderful people. Yep. God bless you all. And have a nice day as well. And happy Easter to everyone next week. Now, the morning one, in terms of the Australasian crowd, is possibly not going to happen. So now the evening one, we may be rescheduled in time and all that. I'm going to make an announcement through the week and all that. So I'm just letting you guys know that I need to But probably the morning one will get shelved in that regard. So yeah, I'm still trying to work out whether I do a really. Look, I'm not going to say I'm definitely gonna can it. I may just do an hour one really early in the morning and just leave it at that, an Easter one, and then do the afternoon with the Eurasian, because I've got Mary coming, so that'll be a regular. That'll be 6 o'clock, and all that. So I should be home by then. Yeah, that's the only thing. So we'll sort something out in that regard. And then I've got Greek Easter coming up the following month, because it only coincides once every 4 years because of the leap year. So that'll be interesting as well. Yes, eat those Easter eggs. Yes. I don't know. Do they have low carb Easter eggs nowadays in your neck of the woods? Yes. Yes, he does. And I don't know. That's probably a niche market that nobody's thought about. Low carb Christmas Easter eggs. Nobody's thought about that. Yeah, interesting. There you go. There's an idea for some of you carny people out there to sort of think of something like that. Do I have to think about everything? I'm going to eat real eggs, some rabbit this year. Oh, look, even in Greek Easter, we usually have real eggs, which are painted. They get you boil them and with a colouring of red, which is the blood of Christ. So that's how we do it. So, and then we break them, so it's a bit of a competition who can break the other person's egg. So that's always fun as well. The previous year, the year before that, I was actually one of the winners, or the actual winner. Last year, I sort of bombed out, which was a bit disappointing. So yes, my competition overcame me. Damn, got to sort them out this year. Yes. And yes, exactly, Sky. Yeah, it'll be good to have Mary next week. So get your questions. Get your thinking cap on. Think of really good questions, guys. I can't think of everything. So, and if you can't appear, because I know it's Easter. I know people have got their whole other things going and stuff like that. Just post them. I will basically make sure that on Thursday, the Eurasian live stream is up and on my channel, so you guys then can go and put comments. So if you can get comments in, not in the live stream, because remember, it doesn't replicate. It's got to be in the comments fields below, like your normal comments. And I will read those to Mary. So and what you need to do is like put a hashtag Mary and then your question, and then I know it's a question for Mary. So please do that. And then we've got quite a few questions and really good ones. Things that you guys hear about. You hear in the carnivore keto community, or the vegans saying certain things about the Messiah or the Hudzas or whatever, or any of these groups. You've got some really good stuff. Get those questions to me so I can actually ask her, because then we can get that information. You guys can then timestamp that and link it in other areas and say, well, hold on. Here's you got an eyewitness, a person who knows their stuff, that basically is providing the information that you guys are providing nonsense. So, yes. No. I know Blinky would like to see her butthole, but, he's a deviant. He can't help himself. Can you, Blinky? What about a hairy? Oh, God. Dom, thanks, mate. Yes, so you want a hairy Harry? God, I better get off here before I actually say too many. Oh, God, I'm not waxing. Do you see Jaws what I have to put up with? Exactly. Hey, it doesn't matter. For Blinky, he'll jump onto anything. He'll wax anything. Oh God, God. Now, have a nice week, you deviants, and I will see some of you deviants next week. See you guys. Uh, Good night and good day wherever you are on this beautiful circular planet of ours.